All right. Um, why? Why did I start episode one? Why was episode one? Welcome, folks, to FTFC. Welcome, folks, to FTFC with Dylan Tedder. The Bible itself is a book of paradoxes that too few men understand the wisdom therein. A paradox. Something that sounds absurd at first, but given time to examine, makes sense and works well, actually. The difference between instant and delayed gratification. The idea and principle of being selfishly selfless. Why did I start with being a free slave? I started with being a free slave because it's the one paradox, the one thing that seems counterintuitive, where there is no need for balance, there is no need for nuance. It's the one thing that if you go 100%, there's nothing wrong with it. Choosing to be a slave to Christ is the one thing that in this world and in this life as a human you can do, and there is no law against that. None. Your discernment. But that's why it's episode one. Episode one is changing our perception of slave, changing our perception of master, and changing the concept of choosing to be a free slave. Thereby changing our actions, thereby changing our thoughts, thereby changing our ideas, and then our axioms, and then finally, once you've done that, then God gives you the foundation, the objective truths. Then you finally come to terms with, wow, I have chosen to I hesitate to test. You're not testing God, you're testing yourself and your ability to test faith. That's what you're doing. You're testing not God, because God can't be tested and his ways are unchanging. But what you're doing when choosing to go from an atheist to let me dip my toes into this believing. Now when I say dip your toes, I do mean with a genuine heart and a genuine desire to know only truth, and not to have your presuppositions fulfilled with whatever thing you read, watch, listen to, but to genuinely seek with your heart and your mind truth. Using your free will to do that, stepping out into the unknown, because as an atheist, that's what we do. That's what we did. Those of us who weren't those of us, like myself, who had the hubris and the audacity to claim, I came up with my worldview all on my own. For those of us who felt that way at one time, that's what it felt like. It felt like I had whitewashed my brain. I had done to my brain what Hillary Clinton did to those emails. Bleach, bit, hammer. I only want to know what's true, because by the time that I decided to actually decide with a genuine heart and a genuine mind to just only want to know what was true, I had bought and sold all of the lies. And here's the thing, when I realized that I had bought the lies, my immediate reaction was not to, well, let me seek with a genuine heart and a genuine mind truth. I take that back. But I had no idea, with that genuine desire in my heart and in my mind to find truth, had no idea this is where it would have led me. No. For 30 years, I called Jesus a crutch. Forgive me. For 30 plus years, I had the hubris and the audacity to claim that I had developed my worldview based on my own personal experiences, and my own personal experiences were enough to actually develop a worldview, rather than all of my personal experiences combined with all of the personal experiences of everybody who's personally experienced anything with me, along with all of the people who personally experienced anything with the people. We are the collective of all of human civilization from the beginning. We stand on all of the shoulders, good, bad, and ugly, that came before us. That's when I started seeking truth. And when I sought after truth, I first realized just how evil this world was. And I looked into seeing, well, who's making these decisions? Because it sure isn't God. It's who's. So you start looking into secret societies, and you hear about these people and those people, this group, that group. You go down the rabbit hole for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, seeking because here's the one thing that we all have in common, those of us who believe something other than what's been fed to us our whole lives in the box, is there's somebody at the top of this pyramid puppeteering all this stuff, right? Whether it's a small group of people, it's one guy, or whatever else. You wanna see real evil. Look up Standard Oil. Look up John D. Rockefeller. You see, when I discovered John D. Rockefeller through a guy you guys should look up, James Corbett of the Corbett Report, not to be mistaken for the Colbert Report by Stephen Colbert, an artard who at one time was kind of funny when he did the Colbert Report after The Daily Show, back when I was an artard and thought watching The Daily Show made me an informed voter. Forgive me, I was part of the problem. But admitting that's the only way to get better. So, James Corbett. How big oil conquered the world? And it most definitely did. And so, I'm trying to figure out how does the world's really big, right? Lots of diverse peoples of all different cultures, customs. How does such a small group of people, how are they able to manipulate entire industries? Well, then you find out how they do that. And yeah, okay. The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. Yeah, you want to investigate real evil? You see, because some are evil in that they do some do heinous acts in public or even in private, but they do heinous and gory acts, right? They're the horror genre of evil, right? But you know the real evil? The real evil is the one that gets away with the evil because everybody's focused on the gore. Everybody's focused on the blood, the guts, and the nudity. And they lose sight of the fact that they live in a society now that's been so morally bankrupt that we're now cheering on blood, guts, and nudity. And I'm not the square who's, oh, no. But at the same time, the effect on the children. We don't ever think about it. I don't know when exactly. It's been my whole lifetime. The attention spans of human beings have been decaying since at least my whole lifetime. And that's evidenced by you just read or watch vintage. You know, I feel really old when I say things like vintage. And I'm like, people used to recite entire speeches. And now if we asked anyway, what was I talking about? The importance of number one being one, two, yeah, and then went on some other rant because that's what I do. Everybody knows that. Well, all that said, episode 2, selfishly selfless. Again, it sounds counterintuitive, but and here's a quote for you, Dylan T. Tether, 2025. The less you think of yourself and more for others, the more others think of you. And there are vast more others than you alone. Yet you alone can help infinite others. So, you're born into this world. Me, 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 me. And yet by the time that you're 3, you start to understand the benefits of sharing, of cooperation. You start to intuitively understand that for all of you to enjoy this toy, it's going to take cooperation. Now, there are exceptions. Bullies. They come in all shapes and sizes. But these bullies they're always the exception. You see, and that's life. Life isn't everybody that you help is going to not seek to take advantage of you. But if you actually take the time to help more than one person, you'll find that the majority, the vast majority of people will at least be appreciative. They'll smile. And think about that. Think about that. How many people get to say that you made someone smile today? You, this one human out of all of these billions, made this other human out of all of the other billions smile. For a split second, they were like, you know what? Humanity? Now 5 minutes down the road, they're going to get cut off and be given the finger, and they're going to go. But for that brief moment, you, even if for but a smile. But that's the counterintuitiveness of being selfishly selfless. So you go from being born, me. 3, you start to understand the need for sharing and cooperation. And then you start to grow up. And you start to experience the world around you. Obviously, right? But you get friends. Yeah. And there you go. And that's about it. And you're like, well, what did you say? You just stood there staring off into space for 30 seconds. Yep. That's what happens. Then you're 30 years old. Yep. You stare off into space, because I promise you, you'll think you know something, then you'll realize you don't. Then it's like, did I really know something? No. And you'll do that over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And that's if you actually care. That's if you're like a thinking person. But I'm sorry, until you're 30, there's just so many life experiences that take place in a human's life. I almost said a man's life, but in a human's life, from the time that they're born to the time that they're 30, that at 30 years old I can start to talk to you and ask you questions and sort of find out where you stand. And who the hell am I to tell you where you stand? Nobody except for someone who's willing to be completely vulnerable to you, tell you all of my flaws, and in good faith discuss the most difficult topics in order to illustrate to you and anyone else the importance of putting the Father first, and how everything that you may believe that is actually good resonates and originates from the field that you refuse to give credit to. The Father who created the field in the ways that Western civilization has back to the hubris and the audacity, right? But then you're 30. And it's at this point in time, I expect you to choose how you're going to start to live your life. I myself chose to be a drunkard. And be the antithesis of who a man of Christ should be. Someone who professes the name but does what I did. The worst of us, that's who I was. But it took 10 plus years for me to hit rock bottom, but no time flat for me to bounce. Beyond where I was before I decided to give my life to alcohol, the prick. That being said, over time we let those who have hurt us stop us from helping others, only further hurting ourselves. When we lose trust in human beings, when we lose trust, when we allow other people to affect your trust in people, here we go. We're at 23 minutes in. When you think about letting other people who have hurt you or done you wrong affect your trust in people, humanity, and humans, because you are a child of God, understanding that they are children of, not all of them are children of God, but that's, we hope that we can bring them into the family, right? That's our job, to go and make disciples. But when we do that, I want you to think about the man who owed 10,000 talents, right? I have this man who has this debt of 10,000 talents. So he goes, but he doesn't have it. Hey, he ain't got it. So he goes to his debtor and he says, hey, I ain't got it. And his debtor's like, well, you, your wife, your children, you're all slaves. Anything that you have is mine. And the guy is like, meh. Because, you know, you're looking at your guy's sitting there and he's looking at his wife and his kids and he's just, please God help me, like, please God. So he begs the debtor, forgive me. There's no way I can pay this. But for the sake of myself, my wife, my children, please. And the debtor says, you're forgiven. Go. And so he does. Him, his wife, and his kids, they go. And there's another man who's indebted to our original guy, the guy who owed 10,000 talents. This other guy owes that guy 10 talents. And our original guy is sitting there arguing, hey, you owe me 10 talents. And the guy's like, look, man, I really want to be able, but I can't. There's just no way I can do this. Please forgive me. And our original guy, who was just forgiven 10,000 talents, unwilling to forgive the other guy of his 10. You see, that's what we do when we allow an individual who may have wronged us to affect our trust in the Father, in His ways, and the fact that we should still be prioritizing others over ourselves. Now, this is why I said number 1 episode was being a free slave, because it's the only paradox in which there is no need for nuance and balance. It is the one thing that you can do 100%, and I will never say a word against, nor will the Father. You want to chase after His Son? He's going to be cheering you on the whole time, I promise you. But this being selfishly selfless, there's need for discernment, there's need for nuance, and there is need for balance. Because you might say, well, then just go donate everything you have, Dylan. And I will say, there is a need for discernment, nuance, and balance. You see, if I was to be driving down the road and I saw a man who looked like me on the side of the road who needed help, I would gladly stop. If my wife were driving down that same road and saw that same man, I would hope that she would drive right on by. And if anything, give me a phone call and say, hey, there's a guy on this road. Would you want to come help? I'm on my way home. You see, too few are willing to, 1, understand that the paradox is true, and 2, that there is balance in the paradox. But those who do both understand the wisdom therein the paradox and the need for balance for the real benefit for humanity, yourself, to be fully fulfilled takes balance. That being said, if you were to have to one or the other, definitely go with being selfless, because of what I said originally. Because yeah, every schoolyard's got a bully, but every schoolyard's full of dozens of kids who understand the need for cooperation. But the further that we get from a time where these paradoxes were understood and the balance therein was also understood, the further that we get from that, the less intuitive these things are going to be in human beings. And that's why I think it's important for us to have conversations just like this one. If you're going to go one or the other, be totally selfish or totally selfless, be totally selfless, because you're going to be hurt. But you'll be helping not only others, but yourself. And that's why it's selfish, selfishly, selfless. You know, if I said dying to yourself, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But that's what this looks like in practice. I say dying to oneself, to live by the Spirit and not of the flesh, and people are like, well, what's that look like? Well, that's the prescription that I'm giving you. I am giving you the prescription. The prescription looks like someone who is able to discern with wisdom to not let others' actions affect their trust in the Father's ways and how He sees us. Despite the hurt that we may feel, or the wrong that we may feel, or how we were taken advantage of, or whatever else may have happened. And yes, not gonna lie, a bunch of awful stuff happens. I mean, you might be a 3-year-old girl and a 8-year-old girl and end up with a dad who decides that he wants to start drinking and loses sight of all principle, and for more than a decade hides alcohol, lies, cheats, breaks promises, verbally abusive, which is mentally abusive, emotionally abusive. These are girls, these are my daughters. Point is, we can't let others' actions dictate our own. We can't say, I had a dad who I didn't meet till I was 12, who died of liver cancer when he was 55, and I was just destined to be an alcoholic. That's weak. And I think I knew it all of the... Yeah. And you know what sucks is that hurts even worse. Is you do know. You know, but somehow you convince yourself that for some reason it's okay. But it's not. It's most assuredly not. But the weight that's lifted the moment that you accept the wisdom within the paradox and are able to discern the need for balance therein, you can truly start being a man. Yes. then and only then can you be looked at as a leader, someone who others can trust, who can rely on, in word and in deed. Be always good faith. You know, I told people for a long time, I'm right about everything except for alcohol. And it turns out, yep. It wasn't the alcohol. You see, it's what I allowed alcohol to do to me, to bully me. You need me, do this, do that, lie about this, lie about that, let's go here, let's go there. I spent my whole life beating the shit out of bullies, and only to destroy the things that I loved most. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's why I can so deeply understand the need to be selfishly selfless. I think those who have been broken of their pride, but like really, really, really deep-seated, for no conceivable fucking reason type of pride, and are truly humbled. I'll say this. Being selfishly selfless, I'll go into depth. I'll do a whole nother video. This one's been a rant of a whole lot of other things. You end up with a network of people of diverse skill sets, and it's beneficial to you, and that's how you develop civilization. That's why being selfishly selfless is important for everybody to be, because there was a time when in this country, not so long ago, there were people alive today who are watching this going, ask not what this country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Yes, that's the kind of mindset that we need. Yes. All that aside, man, it wasn't supposed to be this, but the importance of not putting off till tomorrow what you can get done today. Man, it's a something. paradoxes. The Bible is a book of paradoxes that too few men understand the wisdom therein, and even more don't understand the need for the balance inside of the paradox. Flipping Tables for Christ with Dylan Tedder. Take care, I love you, and be blessed.